actually about leprosy, more likely it was used for any sort of skin condition such as psoriasis or syphilis, advanced syphilis.
Interesting.
Or fungal infections.
But leprosy itself as a bacterium did exist at the time of Dear Jesus. Right?
Dear Jesus.
Perfect. Yes. Cool.
The word leprosy, though, comes from, I love etymology, so I just have to throw this in.
Do it. I love it. I want to learn things.
It comes from the Greek word lepra, which means, quote, a disease that makes the skin scaly.
Wow. That's such a long definition for one little word.
Yeah. Which is probably why it was used later on for the disease leprosy, because it still is a skin condition, blah, blah, blah. I want to talk a little about the treatment of leprosy victims from the time of the earliest writings, which were in like the 1st century or before that, to about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I'll take you through leprosy victim experiences all over the world and ending in Hawaii.
Great.
What comes to mind, Erin, when you hear the word leper?
I think of someone who is sort of shunned. I think of sort of grotesque skin conditions. I think of, honestly, it just makes me feel sad when I hear that word.
Someone who's an outcast.
Yeah, an outcast.
You're afraid of them.
It's almost, that word I feel like is almost synonymous at this point with the idea of an outcast.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's part of the history of the treatment of victims of leprosy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you or I or you, dear listener, have used the word leper before to refer to the feeling of feeling shunned or of being rejected or whatever it is. And these associations exist because of how victims of leprosy have been treated throughout history and into present day. In fact, many health organizations such as the CDC no longer use the word leper or Erin mentioned, leprosy anymore, and leper is actually not used at all.
Right.
And so when we do, so throughout the episode, I may use the word leper, Erin may use the word leper, and we're not doing it to call someone a leper. It usually is putting it in its historical context, or we're reading from a quote. I'll use the term leper colony as synonymous with some of the other terms where victims of leprosy were
quarantined.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, we this is sort of a disclaimer that we recognize that that word is extremely stigmatized and it's not commonly used today. So when we're using it in this episode, it is based in its historical context.
Although specific practices differed region by region, the common thread in how victims of leprosy were treated was rejection and stigma. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
In some places, victims were made to wear cloaks and bells or clappers, so that whenever they went through a village,
you could hear them coming.
Their presence had to be announced.
That's awful. Humans, we're terrible to each other.
Yeah, we're terrible. Oh,
goodness.
that's like lucky.
Oh,
if you had to wear a cloak and have a bell, you were well off.
You were one of the lucky ones.
Oh yeah. If you were a little bit less lucky, you were made to, for instance, stand in a freshly dug grave while a priest stood over you, threw dirt on you, and then said, "You are dead to the world. All your earthly possessions are taken away. Your marriage is dissolved, and your kids are going to be orphans if you and your partner were both afflicted."
Can you describe my face right now for
It's
listeners?
horrified.
Yeah.
Her eyebrows are like S's.
That is, wow. So they were essentially declared dead in the eyes of God and men.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Then that person who was made to stand in the grave was forcefully sent to a leprosaria, Lazar house, or leper colony. Those are the kind of interchangeable terms for an area in which it was secluded and you were sent up.
Sidebar, a Lazar house, and this explains why I assumed